Hello, my friends. Here I have the Kizer Doberman. This is the second item that my friend EDC Knife Noob sent along for me to do a little mini review on. So this is really the second knife of the Poop Brother. Oh, the Kizer Doberman. So my friend actually did his own review on this. He did, I think this was actually one of the first videos he did. He actually had a few negative things to say about it, and I agree with one of them for sure and disagree on a couple of other things. I'm going to get into that. So first off, this is not a particularly expensive knife. These run like $70 or so, maybe $80. There is actually a more expensive version with higher end materials, but the shape and everything is the same. So what you have is actually a really attractive 154 cm blade. You have what I think is actually pretty good looking contoured G10 handles, and a really awful pocket clip. So talking about this thing overall, I really do like the blade on this. So my friend expressed some frustration, mainly about the pocket clip, which I'll get to, but also because he was having some issues with the detent of the blade. When he sent this to me, I did spend some time disassembling this. I took it apart, I cleaned it all out, I relubricated it, I tightened up the pivot just right, I put some Loctite on it, and right now the detent is perfect. The thumb stud action is perfect, the flipping action is perfect. I don't think there's actually any problems there. I really like how this thing flips, and the action is drop shut. Ooh. Ooh. The other thing I did for him, because I wasn't too impressed with the factory edge, is I did sharpen this up for him. I put my own edge on it. Nice polished edge. This thing has a nice thin blade behind the edge, and it does cut very nicely now with this this edge I put on it. And that is one thing I have to say. I like the blade on this thing. It's not anything particularly unique. It does have a nice ergonomic design, but it's what I would call like the ideal thickness for a folding knife blade. The edge is a nice consistent thickness, and you see a nice even edge bevel the whole way. That's something, as someone who does sharpen, that's something I really appreciate. You know, didn't get a smile back here, and it just sharpened up really nicely, I have to say, and the edge looks good too. I love the ergonomics on it too. This thing, like this, it melts into the hand. It really does, and that's. I try not to, say things like that because I think that they sound kind of cliche, but this one really does. After spending some time in the past few days carrying the Akuchi that I just did a little video on, and something else I just got, which is the Hogue Deca. Every time I pick this up, I'm just like, oh, this thing just feels so much better than those other two do. Now, I wouldn't say I have large hands. I wear a large size glove. My hands are probably average size. But I prefer a full size handle. This thing feels just right for me. The standard grip on this feels really great. It feels great choked up. The jimping up here feels good. I think that the ergonomics are probably the standout feature on this particular model. The second best thing is probably the action on it. It's very smooth, and it does drop shut. I do like the bearings that Kizer uses. They're like, I guess you call them multi-row ceramic. All the Kizers that I've handled recently have had really, really nice smooth actions. This is no exception. I do like the bearings they're using. On that topic, I did take this apart, and it has a little bit of a unique construction. Nothing super unique, but these G10 scales, they are hollowed out, and the liner, the steel liner, actually does not go through the whole handle. It kind of, it's thin back here, and it follows the lines of the back spacer, and then it kind of flares out to encompass the pivot. So it's not like it's like a partial liner in that it kind of just runs along here. And I haven't seen that before. Not that I've disassembled every knife in the world. I've disassembled the majority of what I have in my collection at one time or another. But I haven't ever seen anything that was quite like that. Now, this is actually quite easy to take apart. You really just have to do these two screws, and then once the scale pops off, there's a third smaller screw that holds that liner on and attaches it to the back spacer somewhere right around here. And the pocket clip, which is terrible, and I'll get to that, also is attached by this screw here. So the only thing I actually had to do to try and adjust this pocket clip was just remove this one screw here, and this came right off. Now, why do I say this pocket clip is terrible? Do you see the shape of it? I actually spent some time loosening this up. It now actually doesn't even touch the handle scale anymore. It's like just barely off of the edge there. The way that ramp is shaped on the bottom, it makes it very stubborn going in and out of the pocket. And it's a stiff clip too. There's not a lot of spring to it. There's a lot of tension. So I actually found that I needed 2 hands to put this in my pocket and 2 hands to take this out of my pocket, because this thing just really catches on the lip of my jeans. So I agreed with my friend on that. This is an awful pocket clip. If they think that if they had changed the shape of the ramp on the bottom there, or just made it a little bit less stiff, it would have worked much better. But I have to say, overall, after carrying it for a day, that's the only gripe I have with this thing. This is a nice knife. Overall, again, great ergonomics, great action. I think it's a great blade shape. It's a size that I like. I like basically everything about this for this price except for that pocket clip. And that's probably the reason why I would not buy one myself. There's so many good things out there at this price point, and there are so many other things on my wish list right now. I would rather spend my money on those things, knowing that they probably don't have a glaring flaw like that. I feel like if you could replace this clip or maybe modify it, this would more or less be a perfect knife, and I would give it a very positive review. So aside from that, everything about it is great. And I think that when this gets back to my friend, I think he will be much happier with the way that the action is, now that I've kind of corrected the tightness of the pivot. And I think he'll be very happy with how sharp I made it. And hopefully the effort that I put into loosening up this pocket clip has made it such that he'll be more willing to carry it. Again, I did loosen this up. It does go into the pocket a little bit easier than it used to. I still think that it isn't great, despite being loosened up a little bit. We'll see what he thinks when it gets back to him. Maybe he could do a second video, like a second thoughts or a follow-up review now that this has been improved slightly. But we'll see what he says. Again, that his channel is EDC Knife Noob. I think that's with underscores between each word if you're looking for him. So you can go check out his channel. He's going through the same struggles as I am right now with figuring out how to get his lighting and his camera settings just right for a nice video. So bear with him. We're both experimenting with that stuff at this point. That's all I have to say. I'll be sending this one back to him sometime within the next week. So I encourage him to do a second video on this to see what he thinks of it now. So that's it for that. Now, just since I have it sitting here next to me, I think this is going to be the next video I do. This is the Dark Mode Hogue Deca. I just got it this week. And the reason I actually picked this up was because that same friend of mine, the Poop Brother himself, his preferred carry is actually a Hogue Deca. So one of my motivations for picking this up was to have something that we could kind of use for size comparisons just between the two of us, and to have something that we could use as like a common ground. Because aside from the Deca, now that I have one, the only other thing that the two of us both have in our collection is the CJRB Feldspar, which he actually sent to me as a gift. Now I have beat the hell out of this thing. This thing got used for just about everything when I first moved into my house and I was renovating and fixing things. So it's seen quite a bit of use. The tip of it actually snapped off at one point. And I just recently resharpened this. It's brought it back to a nice edge. But the Deca is a little bit more interesting. So that'll be my next one, and that'll be what I think I use as kind of the standard candle for he and I to compare the rest of our collection against. So this one will be incoming. All right. Thank you for your time, everyone. Poop Brother out.